podcast with Larry Ulibarri and Jake Salazar and myself, Producer WIGNZ, where we talk about everything that's happening in Colorado and Denver, and of course, everything that you guys are posting and commenting on with the hashtag I'm from Denver Network. What's going on, guys?
Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon.
I forgot to say what we're going to talk about. I got excited because I found all these throwback bits, and we were going to talk about Westminster Mall. I want to talk about Larry and all these throwback things, but we do have topics that we're going to hit before we do that, which is the two Colorado cities among the most expensive places, but we'll get into that here in a second.
Been on the mic so long, I'm like, I go, what time even is it right now?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's like being in a casino. There's no windows in here.
Yeah, like I was like, man, we're going to have a topic of food. I'm like, it's dangerous. Like,
100%.
We're not talking about that on this one.
Well, you know what? It's funny because Westminster Mall, I grew up in Westminster.
Oh, right there.
Oh, you tell me.
Yeah, no, I didn't know that we did. I was just saying what was going on.
You're the compass. You're the compass, Wigs. You're the compass, baby. Where you want us going?
Yeah, when you go to Westminster Mall, you made that video where we talked about that. We posted an article on imfromdenver.com just about the Westminster Mall, and then we made Larry produce a video for it, and just the comments of that and the response has just been crazy.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think like Westminster Mall was the it mall for so many years. And so everybody's got, great memories of traveling. Even if you lived in like, Lakewood or whatever, you'd find your way to Westminster Mall. And it was a rite of passage to cruise that mall growing up.
88 and Waz, baby.
Mm-hmm. Then you just constantly just drive around until it was torn down.
Torn down and restricted from drag racing.
Well, I said there that say you can't cruise the loop, and it's like there's only a handful of them. I actually know someone who stole one of those signs, and they have it. But
that's a great idea, and whoever does have that, if you want to go ahead and I will definitely pay cash for that. So
yeah, I mean, it's like I think that once they build Flatirons, that kind of had like a big appeal, and it had that whole new mall smell.
Well, Flatirons took away Crossroads Mall in Boulder too.
For sure.
Boulder,
that's right.
And Westminster Mall
took them out.
Shut down when they put in Flatirons.
Well, and honestly, it was really online shopping that kind of was why we see kind of malls the way that they are across the country. Yeah. But, like Jake was saying before, I think you had said that Park Meadows is still bumping sometimes.
Park Meadows goes off, man. But I mean, honestly, Park Meadows to me just feels like a normal mall would have back in the 80s and 90s.
Kind of gives you that vibe.
I mean, it gives you the vibe of like it's still happening. Malls aren't dead. But like it's so cool just to feel that vibe when you go into a mall now, because a lot of them are just dead. And so when you go in there, it's still a little happening. It's exciting. Like you get to show your kids, like, this is what it used to kind of be like. Like,
right.
People like, you see some mall rat little kids walking around too. And you're like, all right, yeah, there's some 16-year-olds hanging out in the food court. Like, that's legit. Like, there's still an Orange Julius. Okay, we're still here.
Yeah, no, 100%. I think that with all these food halls going up everywhere, people think they invented something. And it's like, I think it was called a food court first.
Yeah, it was called a food court, by the way. Yeah.
And I don't know if it's a generational thing, because I thought it was funny that you would just like go and meet at the mall, because I would go to the mall all the time. I never would buy anything. I mean, maybe you go buy some food in that,
was walking around
out. But then I was thinking just about that in general. I was like, how did you meet up with everyone? Like, you literally had to be like,
without a phone.
You knew. Like, you just knew, like, yo, we're going to meet at Panda Express. Like, then you got your food and looked up and people were like, hey, we're sitting over here.
Old school.
Yeah, like, that's how things used to happen.
I mean, can you imagine that? We used to actually print directions to things because we didn't have GPS. So you'd literally like go to map.
I mean, that's even new school. Like, like in the back of the yellow pages trying to find how to find.
Dude, I delivered for American Furniture, and we would have to, this was like GPS was not out then, like or at least the trucks didn't have it. And so you would have to use the crossing points of like literally finding out where you were going. That was the worst job ever, man, because I was like the worst at reading maps. And then I'd have
right, you weighed 100 pounds.
Oh my God.
Yeah, you still would be bad at that job. I mean, you got some thickness. You'd be in the weight room. I see you in there, but you still might not be carrying like desks and stuff like that.
The strength is misleading, right? So I bench like 240, right? And so
wow, that's pretty good, man. I mean, that's putting up some weight,
right? And so the look and the fear that people would have in their eyes when they would see me come in there to deliver furniture.
Oh my God, they're like, he's not going to make it up the stairs.
He's definitely going to put a hole in the wall.
American hated one of these guys that worked. The whole team hated him. It was known. Like, I wasn't there for a long amount of time, but I knew that guy wasn't liked. But I also knew that I was the new guy, so they would put me with him just because I weighed like $150 and we had to carry a 500-pound armoire up a flight of stairs. Dude.
You had to ride around in the truck with the guy that was like Har Ramrod the whole time.
But this guy was like just hated by everyone. So if he
that's
anything
terrible.
Helper
That's
manager,
terrible.
he wouldn't answer his phone call. I was like, God, man, who did you piss off?
I heard if you messed up, they would just feed you to the lions when you got
They
back.
might as well.
So American Furniture, did they have one of those? There was American Furniture, I feel like, right down the street from Westminster Mall too, right?
Yeah, it was off the
It's like coming from Louisville, where I was from, like you had to like come past that, and then like it was like
there's one in Thornton. I worked at the one in Thornton, and they were like that. That if you would start at 5 a.m. and you would load up the truck, and then if you got back and something happened on a delivery, you would have to go back out. So it did not matter if you were a 90-minute out somewhere and like you had to go to Fort Collins. If you broke something, you'd have to call them up and then be like, hey, I broke this piece. Go back there at 6 o'clock, drive back to Fort Collins and replace it. It was so crazy.
Oh,
Do you know why you don't bend over at American Furniture? Because Jake jabs.
Hey, we're trying to make it on the podcast.
You don't remember that joke?
that's
I
actually
remember
pretty
that.
good. That's
That was an old school joke.
I mean, like seriously though, with the Westminster Mall, there were so many cool things, right? Because it was like, first of all, they always had the arcade there, which you can, like, if your mom was going to go shopping, they could just ditch you in there with a roll of quarters.
100%.
Which, looking back, I thought they just were doing something cool for us. They were like, no, we just need some alone time.
No, 100%.
And like,
Plus,
and there was like, I feel like, there, first of all, we didn't have like tracking beacons on us now, like how little kids do with their phones and stuff. If we had gotten kidnapped, we'd do it.
for sure. No, not only that, but over by the theater, where that theater area was while you're waiting for your movie, they had the pet store.
Yeah.
And so
Which
you
was
used to
the
go
best.
into the pet store and pet
Yeah.
the puppies when you used to be able to go to pet stores. You remember?
Well, there was always a toy store, right? And Toys R Us was right across the street, but that even came later. There was always the toy store right by the movie theater, right by the pet store. And those were like the best attractions. But then my favorite always, though, was there was always the Sam Goody, right?
My friend worked there.
And it was always across. Yeah. And then there was the Foot Locker, man. And the Foot Locker was like,
Spencer's.
Oh my God, shoes are so expensive now. I thought they were expensive back then, but you really could get $69.
Yeah.
You got a sweet kicks, and it was like now shoes are like $150. The thing that was right across from
Entry level, 150.
yeah, the
entry
pumps,
level.
man. I had to have the
Pumps,
pumps.
right? The thing that was right across from Foot Locker.
That's
All
ridiculous.
the kids with the
That's a terrible
pumped
song, by the way.
kids
For listeners
with
who were.
the-
That's a terrible song. Yeah.
It exists.
Not what it means, Larry.
No, I know exactly what it means, but I mean, it became a hit regardless. So how can you do it?
I always thought because it was right in the corner, because Foot Locker was in the corner, and I always thought it was so funny that there was two Orange Julius things across from each other, and so like as I would always just be like, okay, they got to be competitors. Like, there's no way that the same person owns both of these.
No, or the same person was like, yo, I need service both sides of this hallway. Like, people won't come from the other side of the hall. There was definitely two. Listen, if you're from Colorado and you went to a mall and you haven't had, first of all, an Orange Julius like drink and a chili cheese dog while you were sitting in the mall, like, then you're definitely not from Colorado. We covered all the things you were from Colorado on the last one. I think one of them is if you haven't had an Orange Julius chili cheese dog in the Westminster Mall, you are not from Colorado.
I think that for young people that are wondering, what the hell is an Orange Julius? It's a smoothie. It was the smoothie before it was a smoothie.
Yeah, the original smoothie.
For real.
Yeah, we didn't know what it was. It was called an Orange Julius, and it was awesome.
It was awesome. That was also the only place with the mall where you could get Chick-fil-A, because there weren't like Chick-fil-A restaurants everywhere.
Yeah,
right.
And even then, the line was like super long.
Yeah.
Long.
Yeah.
Hey,
well,
did you know this?
And the Chick-fil-A sandwiches weren't even done up back then. It was like, it's two pieces of bread, 2 pickles, and a piece of chicken. And they were like,
on a tray.
Hey, let's come back. Like,
did you know
like,
that,
is this Kentucky Fried Chicken on a bun? Is that what you just did in here?
You reinvented the wheel. The original Chick-fil-A in Atlanta is actually a restaurant. So when you go in there, it's like a diner.
Like a sit down.
It actually has sit down and menus and everything, and it has a ton of things that they don't have.
My wife's from Atlanta. I've never been to that.
I just saw a video
of the other original stuff. I did not realize that Chick-fil-A had like a sit down.
It's an original restaurant, and you can go in and order waffles and all kinds of different things. But
to our followers, I'm definitely going to be doing that at some point
this
year. I always end up going back to Atlanta at some point. I will make sure to have the camera
Yes.
rolling when I roll in there and check that out.
And it's also closed on Sundays as well. So you got to
Not New York,
Which
which
is-
is changing that.
I know, right?
There's a lot of things at Westminster Mall. And it's pretty crazy to think that you could just spend so much time there. And I think you almost, the process was the same. One end, walk back. The other end, walk back.
They built that whole.
Going to all the stores because there was cool stuff in there. Like, I mean, you could spend so much time in the Sam Goody. Like, you could be in there. If you got one of the microphone booths, you could spend a lot of time in there.
The other thing is they built that extension where it went up to the Broadway Southwest area, and that's where you ended up getting your clothes at like Jeans West or Oak Tree or Merry-Go-Round or DJ.
God, who remembers the IOU? There was like
Oh, yeah.
IOU, and
That was the brand of clothes. Yeah, one of those stores. Right. You know, the fact that now they start building malls that are outside, you
don't
just
wanna
don't have
go
that
outside.
same vibe.
Especially when it's wintertime and you think you do have to go to the mall and you're like, it's 45 degrees outside.
Yeah, whoever thought of putting an outdoor mall in Colorado, like that's gonna be cool
3 months
half
of
the
year.
time.
Yeah.
100%.
Other half of the time, these stores are not going to be doing any business. Like nobody wants. Like, how are you going to put a Victoria's Secret in an outdoor mall in the winter?
It's
this is
true.
women trying on lingerie. It's cold. Like, they're not even, like you better have the
no,
heat
if
up
I-
in there. Like, there'll be a fire
you know
in
what?
Victoria's Secret.
I would totally go
They
to
have
the outside mall for that very reason. No one's ever here.
Hey man, I used to work at Abercrombie and Fitch. Man, that was right across from Victoria's Secret. Now that was a good spot to be.
Right. Well, no. They have an outdoor mall over here in Northfield, and it kind of went through that whole period of like, can you have regular stores outside? But for every store that's left, they've added a new store. So there's like a Nike Town over there. There's a new PF Chang's. So yeah, I think outdoor malls are still trying.
Well,
to do
everything's
their thing.
changing. Everything's changing
They
in
can
Colorado
try.
all the time. Westminster Mall was there, it's taken down, and now they have apartment buildings and different kind of locations. But there's actually 2 Colorado cities that are the most expensive places to live. Do you guys know which one those are?
I mean,
I did because
Boulder's got to be in there.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
well,
did because I
thanks,
gave you that
Daisy.
link.
Jeez, so then it doesn't matter. It's been, we'll tell everyone else here in a minute.
Denver's
It's been talked
13.
about time and time again how expensive it is to live in Colorado. 2 of these cities made the U.S. News and World Report's list of the most expensive places to live in the United States. Buying a house in Colorado isn't cheap, especially in these areas, but the average place now costs around $580,000 just in general in Colorado. But these 2 places, and Larry, yeah, you already read the list, 25 locations. Denver is number 16 on the list, and Boulder is on number 23 on the list.
Yeah, I mean, it's not cheap to live anywhere. I think that you can
Cherry
put Denver
Creek
on
falls
a lot of lists as far as like, oh, it's expensive restaurants, it's expensive rent. But I think that's happening everywhere, really.
Apparently
Yeah,
more
yeah,
here,
yeah.
according to that list.
I'm just saying, like, I think people are experiencing astronomical rent in like major cities everywhere,
Yeah, but
and
the top
even
25
globally
is
speaking.
California dominates the list. Obviously, Hawaii is on there, and New York is on there a few times as well. So for the most part, when they say Colorado is the new Cali, it really feels like that.
I gotta be honest with you though, it surprises me that Boulder is
Exactly.
beneath Denver. But when you think about Denver, you don't realize like Hilltop and Cherry Creek North and stuff they all fall into Denver as well. So I guess that would start making, and there's some like Denver Country Club and things like that. I mean, those are some seriously upscale neighborhoods if you've never been over that way. There's definitely some crazy homes in Denver. But yeah, I would think that just like your average home in Boulder is just insanely expensive. So I would almost think Boulder would be more
Well, it's
expensive.
funny that the last one was the best places to hide your stuff because everyone's getting robbed, and then now it's like, oh, it's because Colorado's the most expensive place
Yeah.
to live. So there's kind of a correlation there.
Yeah,
Oh,
well, I
yeah,
mean,
well,
like, yeah, like income equality, the gaps widens, and then there's more crime because people have to do what they got to do, I guess. But yeah, I mean,
JFK
Boulder,
Boulevard runs like right down. There's some neighborhoods down there, like, oh, okay, it's a little dangerous. And then you like roll right into Hilltop, and you're like, you think people didn't figure that one out?
like I could see it from here.
Yeah, like across Colorado Boulevard, these houses are substantially bigger.
Well, I mean, look, there was this talk when restaurants were increasing their prices, and I remember at one point Denver was number 1 on the list for people that had increased their, percentage of what they're charging for, restaurants and stuff like that. So yeah, definitely Denver keeps falling into these lists of most expensive or, very expensive. So I think that's just going to be the case.
No, I mean, what you could take that as a good sign or a bad sign, right? I mean, you would think, like as income goes up, things obviously get more expensive. But then like, yeah, you have to be careful. You don't want to leave people behind either, right? So people that grew up here need to have a foothold in the market that they grew up in. I think that's definitely important.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think really good to be on those lists. And then also like, I think we need to be sure not to leave people too far behind too.
Yeah, I think we lost a lot of people over the years, people that were complaining how expensive. I remember years and years ago, people like bringing it up and like having listeners tell me, oh, we're moving, so we won't be able to listen to you. So I heard that a lot over the years. And, it was, I think, a thing where like kind of a lot of people did end up leaving. And then the people that are left are, trying to make it work.
Yeah. Well, I mean, now they get to listen to you again. I mean, that's like the best.
Yeah, well,
we're back.
that's what I'm looking up right now. Like, I literally,
I think you're definitely
we did
right.
the throwback, and I wanted to mix that with the Westminster Mall in these songs. But man, I don't even know which one, where to even start. But I have just all the songs from back in the day on the morning show, bits, sound drops, all these different things that I've just been kind of going through right now. Like you guys heard the sound earlier of a crying baby. I was just like, oh, oops.
I think we should definitely put those into like some shorts for the viewers and like make some cool videos. And hopefully those of you guys watching, like we'll definitely be cutting up some stuff like that. You guys watch Larry make some magic on all of his voiceovers.
Yeah. So
definitely is fun to watch.
These were our 2 releases. This was a disc and a DVD, and then this was just a disc. But yeah, these have all our bits on them. And it's fun to go through.
I'm going to play it and maybe we'll stop it, but it literally just says bit/priest. And I have no idea what that.
It probably has something to do with Kendall or something.
If it'll play. Of course it's all going to play.
This Friday, yea, the one belly of the sun.
Oh, this is the movie Priest.
Kendall! He was a man of the cloth. Oh, I've been slaying demons all day. Would you rub my feet? And he was his trusty sidekick.
I'm all over it.
This Friday. Oh, your fingers are like magic. Larry Kendall Cathy Pictures presents.
Yeah, and your feet smell like corn chips.
Oh, Kendall.
I'm serious.
Priest. Rated R for rectory. Ooh.
Wow. Holy cow.
Okay, so here's the deal.
Literally.
Here's the thing. Priest was obviously a movie coming out, but at some point, because when we first started working, Kendall kind of had this voice, and he was sweet enough to let me do my impression of him that many years. But at a certain point, I think I turned Kendall into Roger from American Dad. Like that bit sounded like Roger from American Dad.
But I mean, I have to still go through these, and God only knows what they are. Like it's so funny because I remember them, but I don't. Like one of them literally says bit-tush, and I have no idea.
So for those of you guys that didn't grow up around here, if you were cruising around Westminster Mall doing the loop, which was awesome, trying to find girls' phone numbers so you could go hit Rock Island later that night, you were possibly hearing this in your car while you were
hearing Darth Vader telling you about school closures.
If you live in Denver, you have school today. Get on your tongue and get your ass to school. If you are any other, please stay on.
Double, 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 double.
In the cafeteria. Press 1 now. Reach Coach Marcellus Wallace. Press 2. If you're looking for Dr. Evil in the science department, press 3 now.
Wow. Holy cow.
Memories.
And so, yeah, for those of you guys that don't know what Rock Island or Hollywood Legends were back then, these were the clubs that you could get into underage. So they'd have 16 and up and 18 and up nights. And then so you'd be like 16 and up from like 9 o'clock until like 11:30. And then they would throw everybody 16 and 17 out, bring everybody back out, and then bring everybody back in that was 18 and up and give them like a different stamp. And so these places were like super popular on Fridays and Sundays, especially during the summer when we all had time off. And so like if you were smart, you could outmaneuver these places and stay in longer. You could stand on a toilet somewhere.
There we go.
You can stay in with all the older people.
Oh my God.
Right.
I absolutely
standing on your
was.
friend's shoulders with a giant trench coat.
I absolutely was. There was no question about it.
It was off of your hands.
That's hilarious.
So here's another one, and then we'll stop after this.
Absolutely
and just let everyone know that we're going to do this all the time. And I'm excited to play all these, but this one's Rosetta Stoned.
Yeah, I can't remember. Oh, I think this is the Olympic swimmer who got caught smoking pot.
Hi, I'm Michael Phelps. When traveling the world or competing with athletes from different countries, being able to communicate is a challenge. But thanks to Rosetta Stone, I can ask for pot in several different languages. Like, that's French. Or, that was Italian. With Rosetta Stone, you'll also learn other phrases like Robinson and Taco Bell here. Do you have a Taco Bell here? Usted tiene un Taco Bell. Aquí? Rosetta Stone, Michael Phelps' only remaining endorsement. And even we're thinking of dropping it.
Wow. Larry, you sound so
he got
different
busted
there.
for ripping
like,
bongs.
We've always talked about how Kathy's voice changes. Like,
I know.
Definitely. Like, your voice is the same, probably deeper now.
Yeah, I would imagine that the bong rips and the YOLO rum has definitely taken me to a new octave. But it doesn't matter because
all right, well,
it just
the I'm from
enhances
Denver
the
podcast,
voices.
you can check this out wherever you get the podcast. Of course, we're putting this on imfromdenver.com and then throwing it up on all of our social media channels. Larry Ulibarri, Jake Salazar. If you don't follow us, if you haven't listened to the podcast, well, you are now. So we're good there. So, but Larry, I'm excited to get through more of these throwback bits. I have to find them and label them and all that, but
we're going to always keep it Denver. We're going to have a lot of fun on this show. So make sure you hit the like and subscribe buttons so you can always be first to hear the latest episodes. But yeah, Jake Salazar, thank you so much for being a part of this. WIGNZ, you've never left my side. So yeah, we're just super excited to, be the face of I'm from Denver.
Absolute. Thanks, guys. Tune in next time.